And I think we're on. We're up and on.
Wow.
All right.
Hi, everybody. Let's get this out of the way. Thanks. Da 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 da. Hi. Hello.
I have a bit of an allergy thing. But anyway.
That's all right. Let's hope not.
Hope it's not disruptive.
Yeah. I don't even have a pen. Like, oh yes, I do. Never mind. Okay, good. Go.
Hi. The
Greetings.
22nd path.
Yes.
Out of
22nd
32 paths. So, 10 more. Wow. And 22nd path, which we are taking to be justice. The 11th tarot key as justice.
Right, because
that's
sometimes strength and justice are reversed. But not the way we're doing it.
Not the way we're doing it. So, the path, where's my little thing? I don't know it's reversed. It's tricky.
It's fine.
That's,
They'll figure it
have
out.
to do.
They're figuring it
smart.
out by now.
But Mars is the red one. So, Gabura to Tifreth, Mars to Sun, on Moi.
From the
It
pillar
would
of
be
severity.
from the pillar of severity on, oops.
From Gabura.
Whoops, I tried here. From Gabura on my left to heart chakra that we'll be mentioning in the middle pillar exercise. And behind the solar plexus. Da-da.
Yes.
So red to yellow here with it's emerald green path.
Mm-hmm.
And oops.
And Gabura is might.
Mm-hmm. Might.
And Tifreth is beauty. So we're traveling back and forth. Well, the path runs.
From might to beauty. Energy coming down. It is actually one of those paths on the lightning flash here.
Yeah.
Which is better illustrated here. I can even remember. Okay. Kether to Chokmah to Binah to Hesed to Gabura to Tifreth to Nip. So that's right in here. Zoom. Right? The energy flowing that way.
Yeah.
There's creation energy coming through.
Mm-hmm. And in this little book, she says the might of beauty and the beauty of might.
Okay.
It's just an interesting little
turn of phrase.
Yep.
Okay.
Also Libra.
It's associated, yes. Well, let me just cover those basics there. The path of Lamed, associated with the Hebrew letter Lamed, which as a letter is Lamed and sort of equates to our L sounds in English language and alphabet, Lamed, L. And then as a word, it means an ox goad.
Right.
Which is to kind of guide your ox when you're plowing your field.
Right. To goad him into working.
Goad him into working and staying in line.
Yes.
If you want him to. Path color. So 11th key, tarot key 11, justice. Path color emerald green. Sound
is F sharp.
Oh my, you're ready there. Oh, that's sort of an alert sound, isn't it?
It is. It's like the emergency alert.
Emergency alert
If
sound.
this were an actual emergency, then turn this off and go somewhere safe.
But it is not. It
is not.
It is, however, seems like F sharp does seem to be the emergency alert sound.
Yes.
No wonder Associated with the astrological sign Libra, cardinal air sign. Oxgo, we said work, simple letter for work. Esoteric title, the daughter of the lords of truth, the ruler of balance. Daughter of the lords of truth, the ruler of balance.
Wow. Big stuff.
The 22nd path is the faithful intelligence, and it is so called because by it, spiritual virtues are increased, and all dwellers on earth are nearly under its shadow. Wow. Should I show the cards now, or maybe?
Yeah, sure. Well, did you show them the book? You didn't show them.
No, I
all
didn't show the
symbols.
basic symbols in the book first. We'll try that.
Yeah.
Where are we? There we are. So we have backwards the Path of Lamed. Symbols, that's a stylized version of the... Oh, that's the letter. That's what the letter looks like. Very similar to the sign of Saturn, but it is actually the Hebrew letter Lamed. Somebody's rendition of what an ox goad would look like is just kind of a rod. And of course it's associated then with the sign of Libra. And here is an illustration as we were attempting to describe. The path goes from Mars to the Sun, from the left shoulder to the solar plexus heart chakra. And as long as I'm showing stuff here, I'll carry on with the cards. And we got a whole bunch of cards to show you. This just keeps growing and growing.
We've got a lot of
cards. Oh, we got a lot of cards.
But they're all very interesting.
Yeah, they're very interesting. And some...
They all speak just slightly different language.
We still got a whole bunch we're not showing you, but that's okay. We'll be here all day showing cards.
So now the one thing that you'll notice on cards is that sometimes the sword goes up.
Sometimes the sword.
And sometimes the sword goes down.
And some of them are number 8 and some are number 11.
And they should all have the scales in them though, shouldn't they?
A lot of them do. Most of them do.
Most of them do, because this is balance.
And
this is the ruler of balance.
Handel. It's called Handel, I guess, is it?
Handel?
Handel. Yeah. And what it shows is peacock feathers. And I'm not sure what the heck is going on there. And 2 orbs in scales. I'll try to... It's kind of interesting.
I think you're kind of shading it a little bit.
No, I'm really trying to not get glare on reflection on it. So that requires, because that's full of glare.
Okay.
Requires a little shade. Justice, with the label from the Hermetic. Black and white Justice, daughter of the Lord of Truth. Here's the label on below. They do also use number 11 in the Hermetic deck. Label it Justice. Scales prominent, sort of Justice female figure, sword down. And a yin and yang symbol that's significant there. Yin and yang, I think, another way of connoting the balance. Here's this old Swiss deck. Kind of with the female Justice figure, sword up. She has actually armor on. Very sort of more martial there. Rider Waite really doesn't, I think the vast majority, the idea is that it's a female figure, even though that's not very clear in the Rider Waite deck. Sword up. Banner of royalty, royal purple behind her. I think we can go back to that classical image of the statue Justice, where the female figure is holding scales and blindfolded. Mm-hmm. It's generally The initiatory tarot here also shows a female figure. I believe it's a wolf below her feet, but it's kind of an oddly drawn one. And significant here is there's a door behind her with light, and she wears a feather and holds the scales sword down. I'm kind of sure they mean something by this perspective of looking down on her, or her looking up. And from a vantage, the white and black pillars with her. The checkered square floor is significant. It's an idea I believe it's actually Masonic, that the black and white checks are the floor of the temple. Mm-hmm. Oh, we pulled out the cat tarot. There's no scale in the kitty tarot here, but this looks like what happened to me with Norman once.
Oh dear, yeah, justice.
It's not so much justice here as kind of a justice metered out as punishment, but I think what we'll be discussing here is it's not just justice as because something's wrong. I mean, there's also good justice. It's sort of good karma as well.
Yeah, because this is a lot about the karma too, isn't it?
Yes. You sow is what you reap sort of idea. The balance, the scales, the natural scales of the laws of the universe. Of course, Crowley changed the name of it to adjustment. And more this idea of a constant measuring and adjusting, which is probably more true to its kind of esoteric function than it's just not, boom, justice. The good tarot, we have the sword down. We have the female figure as sort of angelic with wings on her. I'm not sure what that is. That's maybe we'll read about it. It's supposed to be more a solar disk, not the moon here. It's the sun. Not the moon, the sun. The crystal tarot is just really appealing looking, rarely formally dressed female figure. Stylized pillars, throne, sword up, scale. A lot going on there. A little hard to discern, I'm sure, from this sort of image. But the tarot, the old path, there's decidedly a male figure here. And also with the heron or / ibis, kind of is a thoth kind of connotation there. Definitely male. Again, though, the scales very prominent.
The scales of justice.
The scales of justice. He doesn't carry a sword. He holds in his hand. It's like an arrow. It's a silver. It's difficult to discern here, but he's holding this silver arrow pointing up.
The fenestra.
Fenestra, just kind of a lovely image. Definitely seems like more female. Kind of hermaphroditic image here, really. Sword down.
The sword of justice is the weapon of the Elohim Gibor, the god of Gibora.
So Gibor is, of course, Mars is associated with martial energy and the sword connotation. And the idea of the scales coming from Tifreth, balance and beauty. Got a fun little spirit Halloween deck show for justice. They depict the Valkyrie in kind of slaying in battle. And then,
well, the Valkyrie is the ones that they choose who goes to Valhalla.
All right, so they're the choosers.
They're the
judges. The judgers.
Yeah.
Making the judgment.
Honorably in battle, you go to.
Nice, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then in this Egyptian stylized deck, what is, I think, significant here
Ma'at.
is Ma'at. Now, as far as I know from my Egyptian studies, Maat is not generally associated or with the martial stuff with the sword, but she's depicted with her scales and the sword here. Cherub, lions, although one lion's may have a human face, or it's like a sphinx being. There's like a version of Isis behind her or with her, supporting her.
Isn't it usually Anubis?
And in the Egyptian mythology, it is Anubis in the Book of the Dead that ushers the soul to Ma'at for the weighing of that soul.
Yeah.
And it's against her feather.
An ostrich, or yeah,
a feather.
Yeah.
A feather. So, which means the person's heart is weighed against of her feather. So obviously it means you don't get to heaven unless you're light-hearted.
That's right.
Lighten up.
Yes, that's right. And also Ma'at is the regulator of the path of the sun.
Yes, so there's the sun connotation as well. And the sun both in the Kabbalah and in the Egyptian mythology. I think I just read in this description that Ra is said to
rest upon Ma'at.
Rests upon,
and
resides
to live by Ma'at.
Ma'at.
Yes. Yeah.
So let me just kind of read a bit here and there, and we'll chat about it too. But so once more, though, the daughter of the Lords of Truth, the ruler of the balance, which she is often depicted as holding. The 32 paths of wisdom say the 22nd path is the faithful intelligence, and is so called because by it spiritual virtues are increased, and all dwellers on earth are nearly under its shadow. Lamed means ox goad, a spear-like prod which keeps the ox moving down the road. This attribution points to the letter's special relationship with Aleph, which means ox, and of course Aleph is the path of the fool, and the fool card.
Right.
So, yes. And then Aleph Lamed, Al, is actually one of the more important names of God as well. Al. Their interaction between Aleph and Lamed is complex, but simply stated, justice maintains the balance of the tree so that the outpouring energy of the fool, which has sometimes been called the Holy Ghost, will operate within the confines of a natural pattern or law. Justice is the administrator of the laws of Binah, written by the Hierophant. It is the ruler of the balance. It's called faithful intelligence because its spiritual values are increased and all dwellers on earth are nearly under its shadow. This should not be interpreted to mean the intelligence of faith. Rather, it is the intelligence which is faithful to the energies of the fool. Without Lamed, Aleph could not function as it does. Moreover, the entire tree is related to this path. Justice is not one solitary figure or force. It is an amalgam of all the paths which are self-focused. The alignment of forces has been described as being within the essential life force described by the fool. And I found that illustrated elsewhere, so this one at least doesn't matter if it's backwards.
Yes.
So Venus is associated as the ruler of the sign Libra. We're dealing with justice is also associated with the sign of Libra. And this is how the whole 10 spheres of the tree of life can be illustrated using the Venus symbol, which of course is very much also the Ankh symbol, life force symbol of the Egyptian. So that's how we can talk about the whole tree being about Venus, which is of course love. Interesting. Oh yeah, I'm almost going to jump and start reading about Venus. We did that. I'll just kind of just jump in if you have something of interest.
I don't.
Okay, because I have more. It does go talk a little bit about how Crowley changed the name to Adjustment, and how that does seem appropriate. The path where whatever is necessary is done to bring the organism into equilibrium. A process, as the symbol of the sword suggests, which is not always pleasant. The sword of Gabura cuts away that which is unnecessary, extraneous deadwood of nature. It can be a severe experience, though no punishment is implicit. Not a question of good, bad, right, or wrong here. The point to remember is that all the good God forms are aspects of the soul itself, not external agencies. Thus, the process must be considered psychologically as a condition of self-assessment. The soul weighs itself on the scales on the left hand, and then makes the necessary adjustments wielding the sword of the right. One will observe that when the Sephiroth are placed in the human body, Gabura is on the right hand and Chesed is on the left. Did I say that backwards earlier? I might have said that backwards earlier. Gabura is on the right. Chesed is on the left.
Yeah.
Sword of Justice is the weapon of the god of Gabura, Elohim Gabor. It can make war, it can enforce peace. The sword has two edges. One consecrates and the other can cut. Consecrate, conferring knighthood.
Mm-hmm.
So it's seen as a part of a process of refinement towards purity, a consecration, renewal of purity. Libra is associated with the kidneys, another association with cleansing.
Mm-hmm.
It's all things under the sun, so it's about things being in the light of, and then remember that it's the sun, so it's got a light of compassion. But again, it's about something I've been kind of writing about lately is I'll just say, because we have I'm running up the column for September in astrology, and coming up big in early September is we have Mars in Aries.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and Aries is the sign of Mars, so Mars is especially emphasized, or is not limited in its expression. So if people are feeling kind of difficulty sleeping these days, last few weeks, more kind of antsier, more kind of on edge with their energy or reactions, Mars is in Aries, and this can really kind of make things aggressive and antsy.
Mm-hmm.
but what's happening now is Mars is going to be in Aries a very long time, because Mars is going into this retrograde period in early September, and for like 9 weeks of moving backwards through Aries and then back again through Aries. So interesting that it's all in Aries. I mean, sometimes retrograde periods take the planet from this sign back another sign and then crossing the signs and into some, but no, this is all in Aries, this cycle. And really it's about that Mars energy being kind of internalized. And it's about reflection. And so what we mean here by the adjustments in I think why I bring this up here, because it really sounds to me what this is talking about is refinement, and you can talk about the edge of the sword, maybe removing the dross or removing the past attachments, cutting away old bonds or cords of attachment out of the past, ones that are no longer useful or helpful, or that you just don't really, when you look at them sincerely, that it's not you anymore.
Right.
But certainly what this warns against is, and part of it too, we'll find as Mars goes on and does all this other stuff with Pluto later in I think October, November, is what we're going to find is, it's not about not dealing with things. It's not about denial. It's not about stuffing feelings down or procrastinating or hiding or kind of throwing stuff in closets about, right. I'm not going to deal with that because it's hard, because all this stuff's going to come up, like it or not. Mm-hmm. So it's better. It's not about, it's like if a denial of sort of personal issues is holding one back, then these things are going to come up. And so that's going on astrologically now, but that's also what this is about here too. Mm-hmm. Is that adjustment is about inner adjustments. It's not so much finding balance. Yeah.
Cutting away what is no longer needed.
Yes.
With one part of the sword, consecrating what is
good
as a value with the other part of the sword, other half of the sword, and finding the balance in between.
Mm-hmm. And I think, which is why you often see the sword depicted downward, and even in Crowley holds this. He calls it. He's saying it's justice, it's ma'at, but it's also the harlequin as the partner of the fool.
Right.
Right. Harlequin is like a female fool.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
But I always see it's like with the sword down, it feels more grounding it.
More grounding it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I think, but I think I'm not. It's not official. It's just more my feeling that down is more talking about inner work, and out is more like outer justice.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What do you think? He has no opinion.
Mm-hmm. Pursuant to the idea of incarnation and reincarnation, this card is said to represent karma. Mm-hmm. A principle generally understood as the reaping by a newborn soul of what it has sown in past lives. Paul Case, however, insisting that the term has been often misunderstood, states that karma really means is action. An action which is a continuous adjustment. The key is related to education, insofar as Lamed means to teach and guide. Maintaining balance is definitely a learning process. Perfect balance is a formula so precise the Egyptians symbolized its delicacy as the human soul weighed against a feather. Mm-hmm. The ancients had a concept of right, truth, law, and rectitude, expressed by the single word ma'at, which meant that which is straight. also became to mean a rule or measurement or a law. Ma'at is symbolized by the feather, against which either the heart of the deceased or his whole body is weighed. This weighing is administered by Anubis. The results recorded by Thoth. Crowley brings them all into the strength, into his, oh, okay, anyway. Ma'at represented a moral law and a truth. She was in essence the personification of the concept of Ma'at, shown on the Crowley card.
Right. This in this book it says the path also relates to our season of autumn.
Yeah.
And the harvest.
Thank you.
Often referred to as karma time, for it is the season when we harvest not only fruits of the earth, but the fruits of our spiritual labor. Lessons that are necessary for our further growth often begin at this time. We as humans do our planting in the spring, but the goddess does hers in the fall. Grain falls, fruit drops to the ground, and waits for spring to burst into life. So does she plant the seeds of our next step in growth. So this is sort of like the beginning of our next.
So you reap what you sow, kind of thing.
That's right. And the autumnal equinox is the start of Libra. So that's where that's all tied together. Right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. We're going to get started on the meditation.
All right.
So do you still have your south and north? Why don't we stick with that this time?
I believe. I have north and I have south. I believe. So the things that we're meditating on, the thoughts are balance, justice, the double-edged sword of justice, the scales of justice. Double-edged meaning not necessarily bad justice, but fairness and balance.
Yeah.
Symbols being, and work. Work is another word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, it seems certainly as for the student and for the person engaged in this kind of study, it really has the, it's not the planet Saturn, because Lamed looks like Saturn, but it seems to have a lot to do with, well, on some level, maybe on a lower level, with self-discipline. And because it's kind of the idea of the ox goad, kind of guidance.
Right.
And, certainly that could be viewed on this level, higher level of our soul, our kind of spirit, maybe our higher self, using the ox goad to guide us, in our lives as they're lived.
Yeah, definitely.
And, discipline is a part of that.
When it comes up in a reading for you, is there anything that you necessarily are drawn to?
Well, in a reading, tarot reading, of course, there's all such multiple levels of interpretation in a tarot reading. And certainly one of those levels of interpretation is that you're being judged. So whether that has a connotation of dealings with authority figures, participating in a hierarchy where you're being judged, whether that be work or something else.
Or you're judging yourself.
Or you're judging yourself. Certainly there's a spiritual connotation here of we're always judging ourselves, and we judge but mostly, that is best discerned through being in touch with our own feelings about ourselves and about our lives, because
Right.
it's not irrational. It's way beyond a rational process here. It's about so reading, it can be this a matter of sort of, well, if you're deciding who you want to be and how you want to live and what you want to do in this or that situation, then you have to at least have the self-discipline to be that, to do that. Then it's like, so a decision, it's about a decision being made personally often. But then it can also have connotations about on another, there's a whole other level about dealing with the law or the society
Right,
we live
it
in.
would depend on what the other cards and the situation and the question and all that.
Certainly on the esoteric kind of interpretation, and there's kind of the spiritual connotation is like, are you up for this sort of, life and yourself, that there's like a decision being made, that there's a result, that it can very much be an opportunity, but with the scales, there's a question about, are you there? Are you in that?
Right.
Can you adapt? Can you adjust?
Right.
To
Have you
this,
weighed
the pluses and the minuses? And are you ready
the
for
pros
this?
and cons? Okay.
Can you make the adjustments you need to make?
Right. Yeah.
The new job's not going to go very well if you don't get up when your alarm clock rings.
Right.
You have to
There's
make
that.
the adjustments in your life.
Okay.
So I'm going to change the angle on the camera and then
Start this
shindig.
It's Justice Shindig.
I'm having a little allergy issues, so. Oh well.
I
don't want to
too.
take
I've been
pills.
so stunned lately.
You want to take pills? I'll just snuffle. All right, that'll do. Okay, here, let's get some of these candles going first. I did want to mention that we looked up the scent and the smell. The incense is galbanum, and I don't really have galbanum, so we're not big on incense here, especially with our allergies. So if you want it is associated with galbanum. And we want to open this temple and dedicate our temple to the goddess and the god. With our black and white candles. And this evening we are connecting to and traversing the path of Lamed. A green candle. Okay. So Ate, Malkuth, Vegabora, Vegadula, Leola Amen. Hekis, Estebebeloe. Okay?
Yep. Okay.
I'm not going to touch that door. I forgot to take that light down. Yehashua. 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 Yehoshua, 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 Yehovah Shah, Yod, He, Shin, Vav, He. Ayin Ara, Yod, Nun, Resh, Yod, sign of Osiris slain. El, the sign of the morning of Isis. V, the sign of Typhoon Apophis. X, the sign of Osiris risen. L, V, X, Lux, light, light of the cross. Virgo, Isis, mighty mother. Scorpio, Apophis, destroyer. Sol, Osiris, slain yet risen. Isis, Apophis, Osiris. May the divine light descend. May the divine light descend. Ate Malkuth Vegabora Vegadula Leola Amen. So be it. The quarters. Okay, I call in the 4 quarters and the archangels. Exarpe. Oro Ibai Ozalpi Yehovah, Yehovah. Hail Raphael, Archangel of air in the east.
Vietoem Ehei Oeptia Pedoce Elohim. Hail Michael, Archangel of the South and Fire.
Koema Agla Agla. Empe Arsel Gaiol Al Al. Hail Gabriel, Archangel of water in the west.
Nanta Agala Imordial Hectega Adonai. Hail Uriel, Archangel of the North and Earth.
Before me, Raphael, behind me, Gabriel. To the right hand, Michael, and to the left hand, Uriel. About us flames the pentagram, and in the column shines the 6-rayed star. Ate Malkuth Vegabora Vegadula Leola Amen. As above, so below. In there. This evening, we are on the 22nd path, the path of Lamed, the 11th tarot key, Justice, color emerald green, sound F sharp, sign of Libra. Lamed means ox goad as a word. Simple letter for work. Esoteric title, the daughter of the lords of truth, the ruler of the balance. The 22nd path is the faithful intelligence, and is so called because by it spiritual virtues are increased, and all dwellers on earth are nearly under its shadow. I will guide us through the middle pillar exercise. Folks are at home, please try to follow along, and I will try to stay semi-lucid and throughout and not get too lost, which does happen. We begin by relaxing the body. You want to sit straight up, or it doesn't hurt to be in a lotus position, but that's a different system. If that's what you're used to, that's cool. And sitting up straight in a straight back chair, or lying down on the ground is fine too, on a flat surface. You don't need to want to cross your arms or legs. Just relax, and we're establishing before we begin, and while we carry on throughout. I try to establish the 4 square breath, which means breathing in deeply to your own count of 4, pausing for a count of 4, breathing out slowly to a count of 4, and pausing for a count of 4. So you want to get that going. You can always think of your breathing pattern as the 4 square breath if your mind starts to wander during meditation. This allows us to breathe deeply and not hyperventilate. We want to begin by imagining an orb of white light atop the head. This white light atop the head is source energy, pre-polarity source energy, light. Its God name is Eheye.
Imagine the light energy descending from the orb of light atop the head to a lavender orb of light in the throat area. Its God name is Yehovah Elohim. Yehovah Elohim. Yehovah Elohim. Imagine the light energy descending from the lavender orb of light in the throat to form a golden yellow orb of light behind the solar plexus, in the center of the torso. It's the light of love, compassion, the sun. Yehovah Elovadaas.
Yehovah
Yehovah Elovadaas. Imagine the light energy descending through the body from the heart chakra, the yellow sphere in the body, to form a purple orb of light in the groin area, light of life. Its God name is Shaddai El Chai. Shaddai El Chai. Shaddai El Chai.
Shaddai El-Chai.
Imagine the light energy descending from the purple orb of light in the groin area to the feet, where it forms a russet orb of light, the light of form grounding us. Adonai haaretz. Adonai haaretz.
Adonai haaretz.
Bring the attention back up to the orb of light atop the head. On the exhale, imagine light energy coursing down through the left side of the body to the feet. On the inhale, imagine the light energy coming up through the right side of the body to the top of the head. Inhale light energy up the right. Exhale light energy down the left. On an exhale, imagine the light energy coming down from the top of the orb at the top of the head, down over the front of the body. On the inhale, bring the light energy up along the back of the body to the top of the head. Exhale light energy down over the front. Inhale light energy up along the back. On the inhale, collect light energy at the orb of light at the feet. And on the exhale, release the light energy up through this column, through the body, through the top of the head. That it may fountain down around again through the body, and be collected on the inhale. Now we want to imagine the symbols, think of the symbols, the images, the color, the sounds, the ideas of the 22nd path, Lamed, justice, meditate on justice and this path.
back, everybody.
Come back. We thank the guardians of the quarters and the intelligences and energies called and drawn to the ceremony. Thank you, Uriel, Lesser Banishing Pentagram. Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you, Mikiel, Raphael. Go if you must, stay if you will. May this temple be closed.
Okay, so we're going to switch over now to be able to shut off this recording and switch over to discuss what happened on the meditations. So see you there.
Okay.